to add P units to subtract. Okay, so P is different. Instead of going to the right, if it says +3, we're going to be shifting 3 to the right. And Q is going to be a vertical translation. Left, positive shifts left. Okay. And it's the same way it worked in grade 10, okay? The way, if you think of it like vertex form, if you have x minus 3, it means your vertex is really 3, right? That makes a difference. So vertical translation, add Q to Y values, R shift Q unit. What is F? F is like f of x, right? So your original function is like f of x, right? Like, you know. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with you today, Taylor. Do you remember this from last year at all? Okay, so I'm going to start with you today, if that's okay. Your spider is, let's see spider. It's not that. Can you catch it all? Sort of? Your quarterback this year?
Second grade.
Alright, if we continue here now. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all here, we're going to do this in English because as far as memorizing this, no one's going to remember P is a shift and all that sort of stuff. What I need you to know is when I give you the equation, what each thing actually means. Okay, so Taylor, there's a lot of pressure here right now. Okay, you ready? Here we go. If I go to the next page, you guys okay at the left board? Mostly? James, we're good? Good, yes? Yeah, go ahead. F is like f of x, right? So the original function would be like this. Right? So that's the f part. There'll be numbers all over the place compared to it. Okay? Because f of x is your standard formula. That's your standard equation, like x squared or 2 to the x or whatever. And you'll be putting stretches and all that stuff to it. Right. So let's just start. Example 1 is going to say translate to English. All right. So the question looks someone just graph that. Okay. So Taylor's going to come first, and I'm picking on you. I'm sorry about that, but you're sitting in the back. Do you remember what the 2 would mean on to the left of that? What would that mean for transformation? Very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the y values by 2.
Is this like, are you giving us like the points or?
Eventually we are. Eventually I will be. I just want to get the English because without the English part, you guys are totally stuck in this question. Okay, and just to make sure to finish up here, what does that x plus 1 mean, Taylor, to finish up? What does the x plus 1 mean?
That's like,
Very good. Subtract 1 from the x values. Right on. Okay, now, okay, so basically what we're saying is the number to the left of it affects the y, the number inside the bracket affects the x. I'm going to do one more here, and we'll see how this goes. I'll do about 4 at least to make sure. So if I say b, y equals f of 3. Sorry, I'm not changing it. So just a standard. I'm just translating it in English. That's all we're doing here. Can somebody guess what that 3x means inside the brackets? Close, but no. Divide the next size by 3. Okay? Anything inside the bracket is opposite. So what that's going to be, that's like a compression, right? So instead of, if you were to multiply it by 3, it would be a stretch. Okay, so 3x would be a compression. Yeah, go ahead.
You're gonna like inside the bracket, X plus one.
Yeah, you would now be the 30 example. Since you raised your hand, I'll pick one. You all, good question. What does that plus 4 at the end mean? What does that plus 4 at the end mean? Good, right? So we're going to add 4 to all the y values. Okay, so just, I'm going to give you guys a few of these to try yourselves in a second here. Just the way to think of what it is. Outside the brackets means that you're doing exactly what it says to the y values. Inside the brackets, think of it like you're solving for x. Okay? 3x means you're dividing by 3. If it says x plus 1, you're subtracting 1. Okay, think of it like that.
Can it be 2x plus 3?
What's that, sorry?
Can like x be
Yes.
a number?
Yes. The question is, why would they do that? Well, think of it like, let's go back to parabolas, because that's easy to understand, okay? If you think of a parabola like this, all right? Okay, the idea is, in order to get, the vertex here is going to be 2 comma 1, okay? Now, if you sub a 2 into this equation, 2 minus 2 is 0, so that all cancels out, the y value is 1. Like, it's a similar idea to that. Like, you're trying to nullify this part. That's what's it. All right, I want you guys to try C and D for me right now. I'm going to hit pause in the video, and then I'm going to ask for 8 volunteers to do any of them here. So letter C and letter D. Now, the reason I'm taking a little bit of time to do this is that this is fundamental for these questions. I'm going to say y equals 3f of 2x minus 3 minus 4, and y equals negative 2f of 0.5 x plus 1 plus 8. Now, if these look frightening, okay, but refer back to the previous page if you need to. Okay, right? Think of what the 3 means. Well, that looks like letter A. Okay, there's a number there. Okay? Think of what the 2 means inside the brackets. All right? I'll hit pause in the video and give you a second to back corner here. You can pick any for letter C. Which one would you like to do first? Go ahead. Josh, you gotta try it. Thomas, what does that 3 mean, please? And Arya was asking me before, if order of operations matter here, just go left to right. Okay, that's the order of operations that works. It has to be in factored form inside the brackets. So like it has to be 2 bracket x minus 3 and then just go left to right and that works fine. Yes?
Would you really ask us to do it in English?
In English? No, but what I do when we actually do the calculations here in a second, I'm going to write the English at the bottom of the page just to make sure that you can do it. Right? But when we did this question for my 4U's on their last test, when we did the English part, they just said because they've done 30 or 50 of these in their life. All right, Emily, what does this 2 mean here, please?
You have to divide the x values by 2.
Very good. Cassie, what does that negative 3 mean, please? Subtract negative 3, or add 3. Either subtract negative 3 or add 3. Cecilia, what does that negative 4 at the end mean, please?
And subtract from y value.
Now, if you're saying I'm not going to try this, first of all, shame on you, Josh, okay? But for everyone else here, these are the 4 things you'll have to do for every single one of these questions, all right, for these to try them out, okay? You will need these. This is why we're taking the time to do this before I start the math. 1, 2, go ahead.
To subtract negative 3 to x, should that be add?
Or you can say add. If you want to call it subtracting a negative is like adding, right? So you can either call it subtract negative 3 or you can say add 3. They both mean the same thing. Anna, go ahead, question?
No, that's all.
That was it? Okay, sort of somewhat clear for most people. Chris, question?
So like if it's the X value, then you switch it?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
But what about the Y value?
No, the Y value doesn't. So think of it like you're solving for X in the middle, right? That's what you. All right, Hannah, what does the -2 mean, please, for D?
Multiply y by 3. Or by -2. That's a good one.
All right. Now, one of the advantages that speeds this up, when we're going to do a parabola here in a sec, is that you don't have to worry about the flip. It takes care of it right away. Okay, right there, I'm multiplying it by -2. All right, so, and secondly, I know if you were in Mr. Walter's class, he makes you graph 5 graphs at once. Right, so it's like pencil, 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 pencil. All right, I hate to say this, I wouldn't want to see 5 graphs of yours in the same graph. If I've seen anything so far, right?
I wouldn't want to.
So this way, you're just going to do your final graph, so it's a lot more efficient and clean that way. Sorry to interrupt. All right, don't take offense. So I said that. All right. With that said, how do you deal with the 0.5, please?
That means you divide by 0.5.
Right. Divide x values by 0.5. Now I'm going to take a second here before I get to this. Okay, because I like to divide by 0.5. If you divide by 0.5, what do you multiply by? No. That's like dividing by 1/2. So you're multiplying by what then? Multiplying by 2. So you can also say, if you need to, multiply by 2.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You ever, other than like saying that, but you never have to multiply if you
No. It's always divide, right? But if you divide by a decimal, it's like multiplying. All right, Matt, what is the +1 inside the brackets means?
Subtract your X values by 1.
Right on. And Robert, what does the +8 mean, please? Sorry? I can read your thoughts though. Can I read your thoughts? I will read your thoughts. He's saying add 8 to x. It's amazing I can read your thoughts that well. I couldn't read your thoughts telling me that you can't talk though.
Why X?
Hi! Why, Robert, what'd you think of that? There we go, should have been why. You guys are on attack mode today. You guys are totally on attack mode. All right, so we're feeling okay about this. Can we do some numbers now? Let's throw some numbers in here and actually do a question. Here we go. Ready? All right, so example 2 is going to say, if f of x,
Do the graphic?
yes we do. Okay, so there's going to be my question right there. If f of x equals x squared, graph y equals 3f of 2, x minus 3 plus 2. All right, so we'll do this one as a class. You guys can try the next one. Now, the difficulty that I'm having for this is I don't have points. So we're going to choose points. If you ever have to choose points on a test or an assignment, hint number 8, okay, because this is very much like number 8 on your assignment, all right? I want at least 5 points, okay? So you can pick whatever points you choose. Sorry, go ahead. Okay. You need at least 5 points to go here. Generally, they're around 0. So for this one, I'm going to go -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay? 5 points in the thing. Go ahead.
So when we graph it, you don't want us to show the transitions?
No, you just the beginning. You don't just control the final graph. Is all I need to see.
So you want the first original points and then the final?
You just need the final act. That's hard to make you do it. Okay? That's it. Okay, so I'm going to start off here. I'm going to make my chart. So, sorry, I'm going to change the question now. No. You could do it. No, you can't. Okay. If you do 2x minus 6, if you do order of operations, where you have to do the -6 first, you would have to do the shift of 6 first, and then the 2 after. Okay. So if you do it this way, you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as order of operations. So that's why I like that better. If you write it like this.
So like 2 and x.
this would be the order of operations. Right, so, and I don't like that. Okay, I'm simple, I like left to right, it works out better. So if you leave it in factored form, it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can do it like that. All right, let's get points. Can somebody tell me how I get points for x squared? I'm going to pick on you. How would you get points for x squared? Give me 10.
Square.
Yeah. So I'm just going to choose 5 points. Probably what I'm going to do is,
Would you put it into like different forms?
I'm just going to choose points that look something like this. Now, because I'm not telling you what points to use, if you wanted to choose x equals 15, x equals 8, x equals 4, x equals negative 20, and x equals negative 100, wonderful, okay? But, yeah, use.
How'd you get those ones?
I just made them up. So what I did was I choose x values close to 0, because that's where all the action happens for a parabola, okay? And then negative 2 squared is 4, negative 1 squared is 1, 0 squared is 0, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 2.
Just square x bar values.
So it's gonna be from.
Yes, because we're dealing with x squared.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's the original function.
But you squared the x and y values.
Yeah, because y is equal to f of x, right? Like your x value is equal to negative 2, the y is equal to negative 2 squared.
Okay.
Somebody translate for me here. I'm trying.
He picked some x values, the negative 2, and then he squared them, which equals the y.
Because that's why the parabola gets the shape, right? Because it's like whatever the value is squared. And then that's why it goes up and it increases. All right, here we go. Noah Solinger. The way we're going to do this, we're going to make a chart all the way across. Noah, if I say 3f of x, what does that 3 mean outside the brackets, please, in English? Very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply. Okay, so all of my y coordinates are going to be multiplied by 3. Yeah, Taylor, keep going. Go ahead. You good? Okay. So what I'm going to do is all the x coordinates are going to stay the same. All the y's are going to get multiplied. So what's going to happen is my points are going to go negative 2, comma 12, negative 1, comma 3, 0, comma 0, 1, comma 3, and 2, comma 12. Now's the time to please ask questions here before I continue here. All right, so the x values, nothing happens to the x values, right? But the y values are just stretched. Sorry about that, I didn't realize. Right.
So then, like, the x is contained, so it's untouched.
Yes. Okay. Right now.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Rachel. I'm going to say 3f of 2x. So all I'm doing here is I'm just putting one transformation on at a time. What is f of 2? What does the 2 mean, please, Rachel? Divide x by 2. So this is going to be divide your x values. Remember when you're using for your x values, it's like you're solving for x. So if that was 2x equals something, you'd be dividing by 2 to get x by itself. Okay. So the way it's going to be is, and I'm going to use fractions because we're in 3u. All right, I'm going to call that negative 1, comma 12, negative 1/2, comma 3, 0, 0, 1/2, comma 3, and 1.
Why are you using fractions? Like, why do you have
Because we're in 3u, that's why I use
Like,
fractions.
what's the, like, why did you choose?
Because you want good habits is what I want to have. Yeah, we're just good habits. Yes. Okay, because 1/2, yes, 0.5 is fine, but if we were going to divide by thirds, I wouldn't want to do 0.33, that would. All right, Lauren, your turn to shine. Super survival buddy. So glad I'm surviving. Okay, I wish you would, that you're saying that, shouldn't I? All right, what does that x minus 3 please mean, please? X values, okay? And I'm sorry that I'm putting you guys through these pressure-filled moments, but hopefully it'll make you remember. That's the idea here, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go all the way down the x coordinates. I'm going to add 3. So I'm going to say 2, comma 12, 5 over 2, comma 12, comma 3. If you want to call that 2 and 1/2, I can live with that. 3 comma 0, 7 over 2 comma 3, and 4 comma 12. So once again, if you want to call that 2.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, that'll work as well. I like mixed numbers, or like improper fractions. All right, and finally, Min Chan, I'm going to do 3f of what does the plus 2 at the end mean, please, Min Chan?
Add to
Good, very good. Okay, so I'm going to call that then 2 comma 14, 5 over 2 comma 5, 3 comma 2, 7 over 2 comma 5, and, excuse me, 4 comma 14. All right, now is the time to please be brave and ask questions before I graph this. So what I did was every transformation we did all together. Ready, go ahead.
When you do this on a test or something, do you have to actually do all 4 lines, or you can just go to the last one?
If you feel the need to go to the last line in one step, you can. I'm going to advise you strongly against it, only because when we get to more, like problems are straightforward, right? So when we get to, like we're doing these graphs coming up soon, I want you to distinctly know what the transformation means. So yes, all you're getting a mark for is check, 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 check. Like this will be a 4-mark question, right?
Because the way I wrote it like as 2y plus 8 is the y value for D.
Okay.
It's the different ones. So can you just do that and then just plug in like the values and get the points instead of
not all. Okay, the thing is, yes, for a parabola, okay, right? But the thing is, on example 2 here, I'm just giving you points to work with instead of equations, right? So your original, instead of dealing with continuous parabola, right? Like the points might be 5 comma 8, 3 comma 6, 2 comma 4, because I want you to use this method. I'm sorry. Okay, right? Okay. But I just because when we get, I'm sorry, but when we get to different types of graphs, this is much easier. Okay, so yes, you can, but okay, right? Like you can still get them roughly. Check, but yes.
For the assignments, because that one, for example, that's parabola, but for the assignments, it's f of x and then square root x.
Yeah.
What sort of graph is that?
I don't know. You just look at your notes on the day you had no homework, and.
Okay.
Are you gonna graph the original one?
No.
How do you graph yours?
You would use the table of values that originally happened, yeah.
What?
What you would do, Julia, is you'd use, can I talk, guys, please? You'd use the original table of values on the left. So if you wanted to graph the original one,
Yeah.
you just use these blue points here. Okay, right, so those would be your X and Y. Okay, I'm going to do this very abruptly because I want to get one more example in before the class ends here. So I'm going to graph 2 comma 14, which looks something like this. 5 over 2 comma 5, which equals something like this. 3 comma 2, which is something like this. Now the thing to look, this is still a parabola, okay, which is good. It's been transformed, but that's your second graph. If you want to do the original one, it's going to be a lot wider, all right?
How do you know it's right there?
What's that? Okay, so Julie, just slow down. I got 2 worked out. All I did was I said 2 comma 14.
Oh, okay.
So this is, just slow down, okay? You can do this.
So we just have to graph fun and we don't have to like go to the first. Okay.
Yeah. If you want to do all 5 steps like you did last year, that's still correct. Okay, right? But I'd advise strongly against it because just you don't need to. Okay, I'm going to write your homework on the board. I want to get one more example involving points instead of just involving that. Are there any questions on this? Because that was fairly fast. No? Oh, you guys are kind. We're good? The other suggestion I'll make for your assignment, because you're dealing with the square root of x, you can't have a negative x value, right? So your point should probably be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because the square root of negative 1 doesn't work, right? So it's going to be wrong. James, how you feeling? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna write your homework, hopefully, and then we'll, do a question on the board, one last question if I have time for it. So homework tonight is gonna be, I'm sorry, I was gonna bad news today, so I didn't check homework. I'll be happier tomorrow.
You said like 3 questions.
Did I say that? 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and then 18 is for the people that want a 90 in this course, okay? So there's 5 questions. What? Why are you giggling? Oh yeah, actually, I was having a good talk. I'm just actually hit pause here so the internet doesn't hear this, okay? Now, somebody was asking